French society during the late 18th century. In the year 1774, King Louis XVI ascended the throne of France. He found that long years of war and assistance to the British colonies in America in their War of Independence had drained the French coffers and forced the government into debt. There was no option but to increase taxes. Here, you can view various pictures of the Anglo-French War and the American War of Independence, which took place in the late 18th century. In the late 18th century, French society was divided into three classes or estates, each with its own status and privileges. The first estate comprised the clergy. Members of the aristocracy made up the second estate. Members of both estates enjoyed certain privileges by birth, including the privilege of collecting feudal dues from the peasants. The third estate comprised of those who did not belong to the clergy or the aristocracy. It included the bourgeois, or middle class, and the working people. About 90% of French society consisted of peasants who had to fulfill various feudal obligations to the state and to the first and second estates. Peasants were forced to serve in the army and to build roads. They had to pay tithes or taxes to the church and had to work in the houses and fields of their feudal lords. In the old regime in France, only members of the third estate paid taxes and thus shouldered the burden of financing the state's activities. The state levied a direct tax called taille. There were also a lot of indirect taxes on items of everyday consumption, including salt and tobacco. Between the years 1715 and 1789, the population of France increased from 23 million to 28 million. Agricultural production did not match the population growth. Therefore, prices of food rose, but wages did not rise correspondingly. The gap between the rich and the poor widened. Any reduction in the harvest had terrible consequences for the poor. There were frequent recurrences of a subsistence crisis when even the basic means of livelihood were endangered.